Western Iowa often feels like it's part of South Dakota or Nebraska because that's how they think we're viewed in Des Moines. That's where the state ends. That's the western part of the state is Des Moines, and the rest of us out here are some part of South Dakota or Nebraska.
Am I here?
How you're here, and that's what I'm. But I'm saying, what can you do as a governor to make Western Iowa feel more a part of this state and get more involvement out of Western Iowa when it comes to running this state?
Well, and this is what I mean. I was in another part of west of 35, and the person goes, well, you're here. I said, well, you didn't get the memo, did you? She said, what memo? I said, the one that exempted you from state taxation. She started laughing. I said, that's why I'm here, because you're part of the state. Western Iowa is an important part of this state, contributes to the state, but it's not treated that way. When you look at the proposals I've made, whether it's in education or revitalizing our economy, it intimately involves Western Iowa. Now, first of all, we look at boards and commissions. I've said we will broadcast live every board and commission in the state. That means that whether you're in Western Iowa or Eastern Iowa or Central Iowa, you now have access to the policy engine of state government. Also, I'm committed to geographic balance on boards and commissions. It's ridiculous when you look at the Red Book and you find 4 commissioners from Urbandale, Iowa out of 7. That's ridiculous. And it is evidence of the irresponsibility of those people who have both the sacred function of advice and consent in the Senate and the people who actually appoint these people in the Branstad administration. Western Iowa will be represented on those boards and commissions. Also, one of my strengths has been able to be pulled together bipartisanship. Once upon a time, I got the governor's chief of staff, Gretchen Tiegler, and Jeff Heelan, the Democrat mayor of Burlington, to work together on reform. I was able to get Chuck Larson, former chair of the Republican Party, and my opponent, Jack Hatch, to work together on education and reform. In fact, Jack introduced me in 2005 and was even quoted recently in the Register saying, John Narcisse is a man of character and conviction with passion rolling down his sleeve and oozing off his coat, or something like that. It was a cool quote. I'm sure he wouldn't have wanted the reporter to put it in there. So when we look at that ability, one of those things was pulling together Democrats and Republicans for economic empowerment. It's called the Every Working Iowa Economic Empowerment Initiative. I had Brad Zahn, who had been the congressional nominee for Republicans in 2010, Kevin Koster, a conservative fiscal hawk who comes from suburbia and a Republican, but I had Deb Berry, who's a liberal Democrat from Waterloo, and Akeo Abdul Samad, who's a liberal Democrat from Des Moines, all supporting a massive tax discounting and rebate initiative that would empower Iowans in all 99 counties. So it's a 3-tiered structure. 5% is rebated to you so that you can put it into the nonprofit or charitable thing of your choice, whether it's community theater or scouts or Little League. And because Iowans in all 99 counties work, it means Iowans in all 99 counties would get the rebate. Now, the other thing is that 10% could be put into rural development. This is $360 to $400 million annually that Iowans would be able to directly invest. It means people would be able to bring their grocery stores back. It means that, individuals would be able to invest in revitalizing Main Street. Or, for example, Mount Hebron Baptist Church in Des Moines might get together with other churches and do a farm where they grow healthy food. But this would significantly benefit rural Iowa, especially Western Iowa, because it means that individuals would have the capital and incentive to come in, resettle these communities. One of the things that I just don't understand, if you take and pour concrete on a rich black soil, government will not only subsidize that, but put in roads and poles and sewers. But if you go up to the Clay and Dickinson County area and Okoboji and you take plywood off a building, and I use this specific example because I had a gentleman tour me of Clay and Dickinson counties. If you pull plywood off of abandoned buildings and put your own money into it, the government taxes you. That makes no sense. So we'll subsidize you destroying our greatest natural treasure, our soil, but we'll punish you if you use your own money, don't ask for government sanction or investment. We'll punish you with higher taxes and punish your neighbors. That's ridiculous. So this creates a mechanism for us to revitalize rural Iowa. And even Deb Berry said the added bonus is that people in my neighborhood, in my community in Eastern Waterloo, would have the ability to eat healthier affordably. And then 15% could be put into invested in Iowa business. Now, I was on WHO for years, and I was on this thing called the DACE group, DACE Roundtable. And Ted Sporer was the chair of the Republican Party, and Alan Kozlow was extremely left. And Ted Sporer said, so I would be able to invest this in my law practice? Sure, you'd be able to reinvest your tax rebate. He loved it. Alan Kozlow said, so I would be able to reinvest in my medical practice? Absolutely. But it also means that the lady who makes these blue velvet cupcakes that are amazing, I'm surprised the FDA hasn't rated her yet, because I am convinced there's some powerful narcotic in there. She would be able to have capital to invest in actually expanding that business and doing what she really wants to do, which is bake and make people like me happy. Fat, but happy. You know, it also means that if individuals came together, say, for example, folks in the building trade, they could actually say, we want to pull our money together and open a store where we sell the gloves and the boots and the shoes we sell. One of the best examples of a person getting this, and my newspapers don't accept gambling, liquor, tobacco, or sexually oriented advertising, so in no way is this an endorsement of this young man's response. But I was talking to a group up by the Minnesota border, and I was saying you could bring a Smoky Row here, or bring in live entertainment, or young people could invest and create businesses. And this kid, he had the earplugs and the tats and the nose rings and the eye rings and everything else. He all of a sudden comes alert and he goes, dudes, this is awesome. This is awesome. This means we could all pull our money together and open a strip club next to the casino. Now, that was not my idea. And again, our newspapers do not accept gambling, liquor, tobacco, or sexually oriented advertising. But he got the concept of demand-side economics and capitalism. We're not going to tell people how to use their rebate. We're not going to tell them how to invest. But we're going to create a path for them to re-establish an economy that is rooted in the free market by giving them their money back instead of giving it to bureaucrats. So instead of people in Lyon County investing in the film industry or giving a $1 billion bond to Orascom in Keokuk County, they would actually be able to invest their money in Lyon County and in Sioux County and in Pocahontas and in Emmitsburg and in Algona. And that would be a tremendous boom to this part of the state. And it would also be fair. Because it's not fair that politicians in Des Moines take money from folks in western Iowa and then treat them like they live in South Dakota or Nebraska or Kansas or Hawaii or Alaska.
Although right now, this time of year, the Hawaii gig may not be too bad. A little warmer, but we'll take it. But I understand your point.
Exactly. Like now, some distant foreign people who
exactly.
just, you know, like they treat, you know what they treat them like? They treat them like those folks who pass through our state and get caught up in those scam cams. That's what they treat people in western Iowa like. And we need to get rid of the scam cams too. I just thought I'd throw that in.
There you go. Now I'm going to scold you a little bit because we talked on the phone on your way in today as you were searching and getting the scenic tour of Spencer. You told me you had a face for radio. Now, I got to tell you, you're a handsome man. You dress nice. Put your head back on. Everybody's got to see that.
And I will put it on for you, but listen, there's some things I'm old-fashioned. I still hold doors for ladies. And men aren't supposed to wear their hats inside. But
I appreciate that. I want people to be able to check that out.
It keeps my head warm.
It does indeed. And very, very, very handsome man. Now, my last question to you.
You're nice. You should have been a politician.
So, say that now. You never know what 10 years might bring. But okay, now, my final question for you. When are you going to be back up in this neck of the woods so the people, aside from myself, have a chance to ask you some questions one-on-one?
Well, we learned a lot from 2010, and so we're going to be completing our 99 counties before the end of March. So we'll actually be back in this area. Now, the first, after we announced on the 20th, we did a massive media blitz. Beginning in February, we'll be, asking the county chairs if they can help us set up opportunities to meet people. We'll be scheduling stuff in these local communities. It gives us about, close to 60 days so we can actually spread them out We don't have to jam-pack events. We can have, just 2 or 3 events where we meet people in 2 or 3 counties in a day, as opposed to trying to cram in 8 counties. So we will absolutely be back here. I have about 5 paid staff. I have my driver, Ray, who's awesome. Just got a double lung transplant several months ago, and is getting ready to run a half marathon in May. My videographer, Paul, he's out there loading stuff up in the car as we have. And then I have 3 other individuals in Des Moines who make phone calls. And one of them is contacting all the Democratic Party county chairs to see when their central committee meetings are so that we can coordinate. This requires a lot of coordination. For example, we have to be in Cedar Rapids on the 10th, and Dubuque is having a function on the 11th. So it makes sense for us to be in that part of the state then. If Calhoun County has an event on the 24th, so we need to build 2 or 3 days around. One difference between Eastern Iowa and Western Iowa. In Eastern Iowa, you pretty much can hit something every 30 to 45 minutes. There are times in Western Iowa where you're an hour or hour and a half or 2 hours away. So we actually have to coordinate, whether it's phone interviews or other things, a little different, so we maximize our time out here. So typically what we'll do is we'll come up, spend a night, spend another night, and then go back. Whereas in Eastern Iowa, we would go up, spend a night, maybe come back, go south, east, come back. So it's a subtle logistical thing, but when we're in Western Iowa, it's important to us, but we have to maximize our time, in this part of the state. A lot of that also is done just by, how we travel. For example, we'll use time we normally would stay, like say, for example, we stay in Dubuque, and then we'll go to Davenport in the morning. Well, we would actually, that night, drive to where we're supposed to be. Like if we left Spencer and went to Sioux City, we'd actually drive to Sioux City that night so that we didn't have that 2-hour drive versus spending the night someplace in Eastern Iowa and then making that drive in the morning. So there are little subtle things like that make a difference, but experience makes a huge difference in the competence of execution in a campaign like this.